Welcome back, San Diego sports leader. It's the Mighty 1090. Jordan Caruth, Mark Ziegler here. And it's time to talk a little bit basketball, college basketball. I'm sure we'll talk about the NBA Finals. He is the assistant head coach and head coach in waiting down at San Diego State. He is Brian Dutcher, who normally comes on the Darren Smith Show during the season. We get a little bit of an appearance in the offseason. Thanks for making time, Coach.
It's great. It's been a little while, so I'm happy to be with you guys.
I know you're super excited for Copa America, and you think that's exactly where we're headed on this interview, but we should talk basketball, even though you want to talk soccer.
Yeah, well, it's hard to say, but the soccer is a little bit more interesting than the Cleveland and Golden State series. That's why I'm watching a little bit more soccer right now.
Can't believe you just admitted that. I'm so proud of you.
Well, you know what? If it was Oklahoma City and Golden State, I'd be talking about that, but Cleveland's got to put up a little bit of a fight before they get me involved in the series.
So let me ask you this. How much – I know you have to watch a ton of basketball in the season. I'm a little bit the same way because I have to watch a ton of basketball, college basketball. And when it comes to the NBA, how much do you actually ever get to watch?
You know, during the season, Mark, we're also just consumed with either our own team or our next opponent that we're not very worldly with all these other games that are happening in the NBA and stuff like that. You might glance at one in the preseason, but once we're in our season, we're so focused on ourselves. And so I do enjoy watching the NBA playoffs some to try to pick up maybe, as much as watch the game, to maybe pick up a set or two that we might be able to use a year from now that might help us win some games.
I know you guys did sort of, quote-unquote, rip off a set from the Spurs that you guys run quite a bit. And at least you gave them credit by calling it Spurs.
Yeah. Well, if we steal something from a team we don't like, we never name it after them. We don't want to give our opposition credit, so we might name it a pro name, even though we might steal a college player, too.
So the NBA Finals, is the series already over? Done? Just give the championship to Golden State, right?
It appears that way. You know, I like that Oklahoma City series when they stole a game and made it instantly interesting and then went home and won two. And now you're like, wow, Golden State could actually lose this series. And then when you watch these first two games, the way they kind of handled the Cavaliers without their best two players scoring at a high level, without Thompson and Curry scoring at a high level, and they still managed to just overwhelm them, you kind of almost feel like it's going to be a sweep. I know that's not the case. I know Cleveland's going to fight them like crazy at home, but that home court advantage is going to be tough to overcome.
So, one thing that I think most fans, and when I was coaching high school basketball, I was shocked at how little even high school players who watch a lot of college and pro basketball understood this. But can you briefly explain to our fans the differences in the games? Because I think a lot of people watch the NBA and they see a straight line drive to the basket and nobody come over to help, and they don't understand that the defense is it's not apples to apples. The way the defensive rules are set up in the NBA. Correct. It's very, very different
in college. Mark, in college basketball, you can come over to the help side of the defense as far as you want. You can actually put five guys on the ball side if you want defensively, whereas the NBA, they have the rules where they try to open the floor up more for penetration and ability to attack at the offensive end. With that being said, these guys are so talented defensively that without that advantage, I think it'd be darn near impossible to score. And the thing is, when they drive in the NBA, these guys that are 7 foot tall, 6'10", even the smaller guys, athleticism, they jump up vertically, and if there's contact, the refs never give the offense that call. And so you see these guys driving in, and there's a ton of contact, but they let the defense have that ability to go straight up in the air to contest shots. And so even though there's contact, if the offense is initiating it, there's not a lot of calls, and all of a sudden you see LeBron not getting to the line very much, and they really slap down at the ball that doesn't get called a lot either. So these refs are obviously the best of the best, but it's a hard game to officiate, and it's a hard game to get to the foul line on.
We're talking with the AHC HCIW. He is Brian Dutcher from San Diego State. Jordan Caruth, Mark Ziegler in for Darren Smith today. Speaking of NBA, Coach, Malik Pope, he went through the process of trying to get set up to go to the NBA, test the waters a little bit. Since the last time we had you on the show, he has announced that he is returning to San Diego State. Did everything play out the way you expected in that process?
We wanted Malik to have an opportunity to go out there and put his skills out in front of some of these NBA teams to kind of gauge where he is at. And at the same time, when he finished these workouts, to be able to say the feedback he got, he can use to improve his game. And so he went out, worked out for 3 or 4 clubs. They gave him a lot of the same feedback. They thought at best he would probably be a second-round pick if drafted, and they told him some things they thought he had to get better at. And the thing is, it just reinforces what we've been talking to Malik about, consistency in all he does. And that's the hardest thing for young guys to get, is the level of consistency where their games aren't 21 games, 6 the next game, 10 rebounds followed by 4 rebounds. Everybody's looking for a level of consistency. And when you play 100 games a year in the NBA, 100 plus, you've got to be consistent. They got to be able to count on you those games. And I think this is going to be valuable for Malik and valuable for us as Aztec basketball coaches and team.
It seems as if everyone has an opinion on Malik Pope, whether it's good, whether it's bad, what their expectations are for Malik on the court. He's able to actually go out and talk to NBA teams and get feedback on what he needs to improve on. You mentioned it there. He was told what he needs to get a little bit better at. What are those? What are the things we should be watching for next season?
I think, like I said, it's a more consistent jump shot. It's higher energy at all times. They always talk about motor, and basically that means play hard all the time. And it's stuff that obviously we not only preach to Malik, but every kid that comes in the program. And that's part of our job, is to grow these kids' games. It sounds like an excuse, but again, Malik did not play his junior or senior year of high school, basically. So he's 2 years into a career. So his talent level is there, his desire is there, and now we've got to help him get to where he wants to be as a player. And I think we can do that.
So talk to us a little bit about Valentine. I know that's I don't think you guys have seen him in workouts yet. My understanding he's coming in the second session of summer, but obviously you've seen a lot of him on film, and on the surface it looks like he's 6'11", he blocks shots, and he's replacing a guy who is 6'10" in Skylar Spencer and blocks shots. Are they that much of a fair comparison? Is it just a swap out, or does he maybe have some different types of skills that Skylar didn't have?
We're excited about Valentine, and he brings a lot to what Skylar brought to us. We like to get out, guard hard, defend, and it's always nice when we make a mistake to have a shot blocker sitting behind us to either change a shot or block a shot. And when we watched the tape on all the available fifth-year centers that were out there, we thought Valentine fit what we did as well as anybody. And so we were really excited when Washington State finally released him, that we were able to get him on a visit and convince him that this would be a great place for him to finish his college career. And, Mark, the thing is, when you get a fifth-year guy, they've been through the wars. I was talking to the guys last week, just to be in the Pac-12, to think he was going against Podol and Rab from Cal and Big Zeus from Arizona, and all the bigs he had to go against. This is a kid that's tested and been through the battles, and so we're excited to have all that experience coming for 1 year. And we've had great success with those guys, whether it was Garrett Green, who helped us win a title, a Mountain West title, or Josh Davis, who helped us win a Mountain West title. These fifth-year guys we've taken have found a way to be valuable contributors to us in their final season.
Coach, someone else that's going to be new on the hardwood next year for San Diego State is a transfer from the University of San Francisco, Devin Watson. What can you tell us about him?
Devin, when you talk about numbers, you're not going to find better numbers in a transfer than Devin put up. 20-plus a game, close to 5 assists a game, and did it against good competition, against the St. Mary's and the Gonzagas and the BYUs. And so we're very excited to have Devin in the program. He's going to have to sit a season, obviously, as a transfer, but we think the values he brings to the court are going to be really important as we move toward the future. And we didn't sign a guard this year, so having added Devin to sit this year and play with Trey and Jeremy going into their Trey's senior year and Jeremy's junior year, we think is a perfect timing and combination of guards.
So Dutch, obviously Devin's a point guard, and that's what he played up at USF, and Jeremy's been a point guard. And I think some people are looking at this going, well, wait a minute, you already have 2 really good guards who can handle the ball. How's he going to fit in? Coach Fisher and you have never been afraid of putting, like players on the floor. You just put the 5 best players on the floor and figure it out, correct? I mean, that's not going to be an issue?
Absolutely. And I think you just have to, the longtime Aztec basketball fans will realize one conference championship team we had John Sharper, Richie Williams and Brandon Heath out there. And all three of them were point guards at times. So we're going to find the best combination that makes us the most dangerous to play against, both at the offensive and defensive end, and put that combination out there. So we're not worried about guys that supposedly on paper play like positions. We're trying to put the best combination out there like we always have, Mark. And whether that's 4 guys that are 6'9" and bigger with a guard or 3 guards with 2 bigs, we'll put the best combination out there that'll help us be successful.
Yeah, never a bad thing to just add talent. We're talking to Brian Dutcher from San Diego State, the AHC-HCIW. Coach, last thing from me, both Jeremy Hemsley and Zylan Cheatham are guys that are making their jumps into their sophomore years. Obviously, 2 completely different players. They don't do anything very similar on the court, but the 2 similarities, or the one similarity, is that they're going into their sophomore year. Who do you expect to have a bigger jump, and what are you expecting from both of them?
Well, I think, Zylan's been really good in workouts, both in the spring and now in the summer. So I think Zylan's going to show maybe the biggest jump of anybody. That would be our hope, and he's showing that on the floor right now. And then Jeremy had an amazing freshman year when you consider the fact the last month and a half of the season he didn't practice. He was in a walking boot between games. And so I think that stunted his development at the end of his freshman year. I thought he was good and capable and played good minutes for us, but I don't think his progression was what you would hope to see it for a guy that practices all year also. So I think big things for both those young guys heading into next year, and with the new pieces we're adding, we think we're going to have a really good team again.
My question for you is, when you go to the lake houses?
Yeah, August, when the mosquitoes are at their biggest.
What do you do when you're at a lake house in Minnesota? Since those of us, from the West Coast don't know what a lake house is, and we don't know what mosquitoes are either. So,
yeah, well, we don't call them lake houses, because that makes it sound like it's this big house. These are cabins. They're very nice. When we go to my dad's place, he and I like to get out and do a little fishing in the morning and evening, and obviously we grill out and we enjoy the beach and water activities. And same with my mother-in-law's place. Enjoy the lake and all the lake activities, whether it might be a jet ski or a little boating. And so it's very relaxing. It's good to get away, but what a great place to always come back to in San Diego.
So if we put your entire coaching staff on a boat on a lake and in separate boats, who's catching the most fish, who's catching no fish, and who's kind of in between?
Well, I think Steve Fisher and I would probably fight for the most fish because both of us have fished in our youth and through our years. Justin and Dave, I don't know if they've ever fished a day in their life, so I would say they would probably be skunked. They would not catch a fish. Matter of fact, I could put the wrong bait on their line. They wouldn't even know it. They'd be out there fishing and have no chance to catch a fish. So I would say they would probably both be shut out.
I've heard a story about Coach and Mark caught a marlin once. Have you ever caught a marlin?
Yeah, no. Now that's a whole different ballgame, that deep sea fishing. Yeah, Coach and Mark caught a marlin. I don't know if it was 300, 400, 500 pounds, and they had to take turns bringing him in. He was so big. So no, I've not messed with anything that big. Although some of my fish stories, you would think they were that size.
There's no marlin in your lakes in Minnesota?
No marlin. No. Some bass, some walleye, maybe a few pike. So all good.
Well, enjoy yourself.
Well, I'm going to do that. We got a little work between now and August. Obviously, we start our team camps this weekend, next 2 weekends, and individual camp, and then we head off for our July recruiting period where we're trying to figure out what juniors, seniors to be are going to be high on our list and try to keep building this program the way we have over, it's hard to believe, going into our 18th year.
All right, Coach, have fun at the camps coming up. Warriors in 4 games or 5 games? Which way are you leaning on that?
Well, I think it's going to be 4, but I'll say 5 to be safe.
All right, you're on the same page as me. Still going in 5.
Absolutely.
All right, Coach, we appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, for everything.
All right, Brian Dutcher, the AHC-HCIW. We're back after this on San Diego Sports Leader, the Mighty 1090.